Hello everyone, today we're working on a 2015 Toyota Highlander. We're going to be doing a transmission filter change, and then after we do that we're going to be doing a flush on it. The fluid we'll be using today is the Amsoil Signature Series ATL, and this fluid meets and exceeds all the specifications for the Toyota WS specification, and it also gives you much cooler operating temperatures on that transmission. It'll knock usually 20 to 50 degrees off the operating temp, and it gives you much longer seal life. Your seals and all the soft parts inside that transmission will last much longer. And we have a testimonial here from a taxi fleet field trial test, 180,000 mile test on the Amsoil, and it kind of shows you how everything performed through that test. Excellent fluid, meets and exceeds all the specifications for a Toyota. The other thing that we're going to use is I've got a fluid capacity website, and that fluid capacity website gives you all the fluids Amsoil recommends for each cavity. It also gives you the filters that are available, and if there's the capacities of the engine down below, we got engine capacity, cooling system, automatic transmission, and this one here, the total fill on this automatic transmission looks like it's right at about 7 quarts. And it also gives you the differential and transfer case, the amount that they hold. Each of those is just over a pint, so about a little over half a quart for each of those. And this is nice because you can print it off for each one of your vehicles, and makes it a lot easier to find that information, because a lot of this you can't find in your owner's manual. And the other thing that we have here is a transmission filter. I want to zoom in here on the part number for this, and this is 6-speed automatic. So we got the filter. We got the O-ring for the filter. Let's see if I can get that number in there. There we go. And then right here is the gasket, transmission pan gasket. So we'll be changing all those first. And so we're going to start with checking the fluid level. And when we go to check the fluid level, you can do it with a scan tool, but most of you aren't going to have a scan tool. The scan tool will tell you what the temperature of that transmission fluid is. You can buy a temperature gun. They're not that expensive anymore, and what I'm going to do is shoot the pan, the bottom of the pan, and when we're up to about 120 degrees, that's where we check the fluid level. I'm going to use a thermal imaging camera, and but again, this here is a nice reasonable way cost-wise to be able to do that without having a scan tool. So we'll take you through the procedure. We're going to check the fluid level first before we start, and then we'll go ahead and start dropping that pan. So we'll get started. Okay, in order to get to the transmission cooler, we're going to start off by taking off this cover. There's a couple of plastic keepers on there we got to get off first. And we've got a bunch of 10mm head bolts to take out. Alright, we're getting ready to check the level here before we start, and we got the thermal imaging camera here. That cross right there is this temperature, and over here is the lowest and the highest temperature in the screen. So we're at about 120 degrees right now, and we're going to take the plug out. It's a 6mm hex on here. We're going to take this plug out with the engine running, and we should have fluid dribbling out of there. Go ahead and start it. Okay, and that flow will slow down here shortly, just like it is. It's starting to taper off just a little bit. That fluid has, I think, around 80,000 miles on it. It's getting kind of dark. Right there it is. Go ahead and shut it off. So the fluid level is up where it needs to be, and we're going to go ahead and start draining this down. Okay, we're going to drain this down. We'll let that drain as long as we can, and there's a tube up there that needs to be taken out. Little plastic tube that gives you the level of the fluid out. When I get the pan off, I'll show you that in more detail. Okay, we're going to take out that tube up inside. It's the same 6mm, and it should be fairly loose. It's a plastic tube. It doesn't get a lot of torque on it. In fact, we usually just put them in finger tight. Come on out of there. This one wants to fight me a little bit. Now when this tube comes out, the rest of the fluid is going to come out of that transmission pan. There we go. We'll set that tube aside. We'll put that back in when we go back together. Okay, there's one bolt right here that the cradle here that holds the engine and transmission is kind of in the way. You will not get a socket up there decent. Now what I did is I got a wobble drive extension, a 1/4" drive wobble drive that allows that socket to wobble around. And I took a 10mm, just a cheap socket, 6-point, and I took it to a belt sander or grinder and shortened it up as much as I could. What that does is lets me get in there and I can get on it enough to be able to get it loose. You can see it turning in there. It's a booger with this cradle right there in the way. And once you got it loose far enough, then you can take it out by hand. So basically these are 10mm head bolts, and I think I got 3 of them here holding. There's another one right up front here that's about the same, right up here in the corner. And you're going to need a socket like this to do that, and a wobble drive. Okay, just a matter of modifying a cheap 10mm socket to make that work. So, and once you do that, then you can get up there with your fingers and you can take it out with your fingers. That's the only 2 that really give you any problems. The rest of them are pretty straightforward. And there, that's the one that was giving us trouble. It's out. And then this other front one up here. You make it really tight. See if I can get on a little further. Come on. There we go. Okay. That one's kind of stubborn up in that corner, but you can work it off with your fingers. Wow. One place where it helps to have small fingers. There it is. Got it. Okay, last one's right there. Oop. And there's going to be some fluid in there yet. Doesn't all drain out of that drain hole. Again, this tranny has somewhere around 80,000 miles on it, 80 or 90. And the fluid's never been changed. It's still the original owner. Okay, there we go. I'll take that gasket down because we've got a new gasket we're going to be putting in as well. There we go. Okay. And now the filter is also 10mm, and there's 2 bolts holding it on. There's one right here, and the other one's right back here. And those bolts are different from the transmission pan bolts, so don't get them mixed up. When you take that down, there's going to be some oil coming at you. And also, when you take it down, there's an O-ring on here. I think it fell in my pan because it doesn't feel it's on there. It's not in the bore. Yep, there it is. It fell in the pan. Make sure that comes down. Don't leave it stuck up in the bore. But make sure it comes down. Alright, so that's it for taking down the transmission filter. Now, next thing we'll do, we're going to clean up that pan, clean up the magnets, and we'll be putting things back together again, getting ready to do the flush. Okay, this dirt load that I'm talking about, you'll see some of it here on the filter itself. This is the stuff we want to get out of that transmission, especially on the magnets here too. Dump that out a little bit. This here is going to catch all the wear metals from the initial break-in. You can kind of see them there on the magnet. And what we do with these is clean them off the best we can with a rag. And then I'll hit them with some either brake clean solvent or ether. If you use an ether, make sure you keep flames and sparks away or you're going to have fire. And we get all that dirt load out of that transmission. Pop up a new filter. What that's going to do is help to extend the life of that transmission significantly, and that Amsoil fluid gives you much smoother shifting, and also reduces the wear significantly as well. So we're going to get this all cleaned up, and then we'll get ready to put her back together. Okay, we got the pan all cleaned up, we got the magnets all cleaned up. We'll put them back in where they were at. And then we got this little red stem, and that little red stem screws in to this piece right here. This one wants to go in a little bit hard. Of course, my hands are a little slippery with oil too. And right there it is. It's bottomed out. Okay, so when we're checking the fluid and it's up to temp, we take out that plug that's on the bottom that seals it. And with the engine running, we should just have fluid running over this tube and out. And that's at about 120, 125 degrees, right in that range. And that gives you the proper level, because with the engine running, the fluid is circulating, so it lowers the level. If you shut it off or try to check it with the shut off, it's going to run out of there like crazy because the fluid's all going to drain back to the pan. So when you're checking it, we're checking with the engine running at about 120, 125 degrees, right in that range, and the fluid should just be dribbling out of there. So that gives you some idea. So that's all cleaned up and ready to go back together, and we're going to put on a new gasket, and we'll show you the procedure for putting in the transmission filter. Okay, we're ready to put this filter up. We're going to pop the new O-ring on the neck here of that filter. Okay, and push it up into place. We put those two bolts back in. Those get 8 foot-pounds of torque, or 96 inch-pounds. Okay. Next thing is the transmission pan and gasket. Set those up. And before we do that, I want to take a clean rag, just wipe, make sure everything's clean with that where that gasket sits. There we go. Snug little fit. Guess it would help if I put the transmission pan in the right way. My mistake. There it goes. Okay. Okay, we're going to put those on. They get 69 inch-pounds of torque on these pan bolts. 69. So we're going to put those all in and torque them, and we'll be back with you. Okay, here's that little booger bolt right here that we got to get in. And you want to start it by hand because you can't get a socket on there straight enough to start it, and you'll cross thread it. So you should be able to use 2 fingertips and get up there and get it started. And then screw it in as far as you can with your fingers. And then you can finish it with a socket. Come on, get on there. I think what I might do is grind down some more of this socket here that's hitting right along this edge right here. I think I'll do that. That'll give me a more straight fit on it. Because right now the body right here is kind of pushing me away. So I'll do that and be back with you. Okay, I took this socket to the grinder and I ground a nice angle on this bottom side here. And that'll give me less interference with that cradle. And I can get on that head of that bowl a lot better. To be able to get traction with it, tighten it up and torque it. Gives me just a little more clearance there. You can see it a little better right there on that cradle. So that's the modification right there. You just make it shorter, 10 millimeter 6-point socket, make it shorter, and grind off that 45 on the bottom there, about that kind of an angle. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and torque these down, 69 foot-pounds. I'm sorry, 69 inch-pounds. Okay, we're going to put oil in this transmission, and the fill plug on this transmission is behind this plastic cover, and there's 2 10 millimeter head bolts here we're going to take out so we can get that piece of plastic out of the way. Now there's another piece. There we go, get this out of the way. There we go. Right here is the fill plug. And that's a 24 millimeter, or you can use a 15/16 standard. They're both the same size. There's a washer on there too, so make sure you get a hold of that washer, don't lose it. So that's where you fill it. Now I've got a pumper, I'm going to go in and pump it full, but if you've got a 5/8 OD poly line, you can put that poly line in here and bring it up in the fender well and put a funnel on it and be able to fill it that way. Because I know all of you aren't going to have a pumper like I do, but that'll work. A 5/8 OD poly tubing, you can get it at Lowe's, Menards, Home Depot, places like that, and that'll slip right in there and allow you to fill it up, you know, bring it up on an angle and put a funnel on it. So we're going to start filling this. We got about 2.5 quarts out of it when we drained it. I'll probably put in 3, maybe 3.5, because I'm going to be doing a flush, and we're going to be basically chasing that oil out through the torque converter and out through the cooler line. We'll show you that here next. So we'll fill it up and then we'll get started with that. Okay, the line we want to pull off is right here. This is the line returning oil from the cooler back to the transmission. So that'll flush out the coolers. There's actually a cooler in the bottom of the radiator. It goes through there first, and it comes over through this cooler over here. That's right ahead of the front wheel. I don't know if you can see it over here or not, but right here is where that air-to-air or air transmission cooler is. This other one here uses the engine coolant. So what you want to do, it's a spring clamp. You can use the needle nose pliers, just back it off and work off that line. Okay, and then find yourself some 3/8 OD, or 3/8 ID I should say, or real close to 3/8 ID line. You just push it over that hose barb. There we go. Okay, now we're ready to do this flush, and go ahead and start it up. Again, you're looking at about 80 to 90,000 miles on this fluid. You go till I get a nice color change. When you start spitting oil out, just shut the vehicle off, and then you can always add more fluid and continue to flush. Okay, initially I added 3.5 quarts to the transmission, and we flushed most of that out. And one other thing is make sure that you put the hose on good and tight so it don't come off. And then I added another 3.5 quarts just now. We're going to continue doing this flush till I see a nice color change. Go ahead and start it. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Go ahead and shut it off. Yeah, we got a nice cherry red out of it now, so I'm happy with that. Okay, next thing we're going to do is take this hose back off, hook up our cooler line, and then I'm going to show a check on the transmission here, see where we're at for level. We'll start it up and recheck it. Okay, we've got our transmission cooler line hooked back up here and the clamp back on in its place. We're going to take this out and make sure we got enough to start it up. Yeah, we got fluid running out good. So we got plenty enough to start it. And what we're going to do, I'm going to get ready to add some more fluid. And once we start it, we're going to take this plug back out again, and we're going to add fluid. Get this back in place here. Alright, go ahead and start it up. Okay, we're going to add some fluid till it comes out. There it is. And we're going to put that plug back in. We're going to heat it up. We're going to let it run until it gets warm enough, and we're going to recheck it. Once we get it up to temp, up to about 125, 120, 125 degrees. So we'll do that and we'll be back with you. Okay, we got the temp up to about 122, 23, right in that range. Okay. So the fluid expands as it heats up, and that's where we want to check it at, expanded. We're going to take this out and see where we're at. Okay, about right there is where I want it. Okay, that fill plug that was on the side of the transmission, that gets 29 foot-pounds of torque. This one right here gets 15 foot-pounds. Go ahead and shut it off. And then we got that plastic piece we have to put back on, and then this piece across here. And then we're done with this, this transmission flush. And again, when you check this, make sure everything's level. The vehicle needs to be level when you check the fluid. And that's it. Thank you for watching my video. Be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel at youtube.com/c/Donsoil. I'd like to introduce you to Amsoil synthetic lubricants. We have the most complete line of synthetic lubricants on the market that offer you greatly reduced wear, extended drain intervals, longer equipment life. You can check that out at my website, donsoil.com. I also have a website for looking up fluid capacities. It's fluidcapacity.com. You can go there and print off the capacity of your engine oil, cooling system, transmission, transfer case, differentials. Be sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Don Synthetic Lubes. Thank you and have a great day.